Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Devdatta Das, Assistant Professor at Department of Law, Bardhaman University, West Bengal. I shall deliver to you on the topic Victims and Compounding and Plea Bargaining of Cases. Traditionally, the criminal justice system centered around punishing the offender for the wrong that is committed. The system hardly paid due weight to the needs and concerns of the victim. Punishing the offender barely fulfilled the needs of the victims or took into consideration the perspectives of the victim. As is known, the role of the victim was no more than a mere witness. However, as the criminal justice system is getting oriented about the aspects of victim justice, certain new techniques are being introduced in the contemporary criminal justice system, which makes the system more responsive to the needs of the hour and also allows the victim to be recognized as an integral part of the criminal justice system. Reforming the accused in the cases possible and restoring the victim to the greatest extent possible are primary objectives of the criminal justice system today. For these purposes, among various techniques, compounding of offences and plea bargaining are two such techniques. Compounding of offences. Etymologically, compounding means to compromise voluntarily. In the context of criminal law, as stated in 237th Law Commission of India Report 2011, the term compounding means forbearance from the prosecution as a result of an amicable settlement between the parties. According to Webster Dictionary, compounding means a method of reaching agreement in a dispute by which each party surrenders something that it wants. An agreement so reached is compounding. Calcutta High Court in 1984 observed the person against whom the offence has been committed has received some gratification, not necessarily of a pecuniary character, to act as an inducement for him to abstain from the prosecution. According to the Malimat Committee report of relating to compounding, it is said compounding is a process through which the offender and the victim come to an agreement to put an end to the tension arising out of the criminal action. In cases of compounding, the victim is believed to receive some gratification which acts as an inducement for him to abstain from a prosecution. The judiciary has observed that if the complainant receives some rupees as consideration of compromise, the compromise and the receipt of the money is legal and valid consideration. However, involvement of monetary consideration is not mandatory. The rationale behind it. Though any compromise between the accused person and the individual victim should not free the accused of criminal responsibility, but there are certain offences which are more concerned with the individual person rather than people in general or people at large. In such cases, if the parties are willing to settle the dispute or the issue among themselves, in such cases the law respects the desire of the parties concerned, which gets manifested in the form of provision on compounding of offences. It being enacted by the legislature as a part of the procedural law. It also benefits the criminal justice system by reducing the load of pending cases on the judiciary. However, the law does not allow compounding in case the accused is subject to greater or different kind of punishment due to previous conviction, the relevant law. The procedural law of India has incorporated provisions relating to compounding of offences since the beginning. The Supreme Court in Surendranath Mohanty versus State of Orissa 1999 had stated that for the compounding of offences punishable under the Indian Penal Code, a complete scheme is provided under section 320 of CRPC 1973, subsection 1 of Section 320 provides that the offences mentioned in the table provided thereunder can be compounded by the persons mentioned in column 3 of the said table. Further, subsection 2 provides that the offences mentioned in the table could be compounded by the victim with the permission of the court. As against this, subsection 9 specifically provides that no offence shall be compounded except as provided by this section. In view of the aforesaid legislative mandate, only offences which are covered by table 1 or 2 as stated above can be compounded, and the rest of the offences punishable under Indian Penal Code could not be compounded. Section 345 of Criminal Procedure Code of 1898 dealt with compounding of offences. Section 345 subsection 1 listed 22 IPC offences compoundable by the aggrieved party without seeking permission from the court, and 345 subsection 2 enumerated 32 other offences which required the permission of the court to be compounded. The Criminal Procedure Code of 1973 under section 320 of CRPC contains provisions with regard to the persons who may compound and the nature of the offences that may be compounded. Initially, CRPC had 21 offences in the first table and 36 offences in the second table, raising the total compoundable offences to 57 in contrast to 54 in the old code. The Malimat Committee report stated the section specifies two lists of offences, one compoundable without the permission of the court and the other relatively more grave offences which are compoundable with the permission of the court. Sometimes the requirement of the permission of the court before compounding is got over by making the complainant and other prosecution witnesses retract their statements given to police and to depose favorably to the accused. However, the grant of permission by the court for compounding of offences is completely discretionary. The compoundable offences are mostly non-cognizable, and all non-cognizable offences are not necessarily compoundable. The offences which are compoundable only with the permission of the court are mostly cognizable offences. However, all cognizable offences are not compoundable, as stated in Kelkar. Cases where an offence can be compounded, abetment or attempt to commit such an offence, or if the accused is liable for common intention or common object for committing the offence, it is compoundable in the similar manner. In case the person eligible to compound is a minor or a lunatic or an idiot, any person who is competent to contract may compound on their behalf with the permission of the court. In case the person is competent to compound is dead, legal representatives with the permission of the court may compound the offence with the permission of the court. Compounding of offence under section 320 has the effect of acquittal of the accused. Compounding of offence is not possible unless it is according to the provisions laid down in section 320 CRPC. Offences provided in special laws are not compoundable unless specifically provided in the statute. Certain statutes like Negotiable Instruments Act 1881 has specifically provided for some offences to be compoundable. The Law Commission of India reports on compounding of offences. 41st report. In the opinion of the 41st report of the Law Commission, the broad principle that forms the basis of the present scheme is that where the offence is essentially of a private nature and relatively not serious, it is compoundable. The Commission, which was against the formulation of a general rule of compoundability of offences punishable with maximum imprisonment of 3 years or so shall be compoundable, observed, it is our opinion better to have clear and specific provisions such as those contained in section 345 than a general rule which is likely to lead to different interpretations. The Commission did not favour a very liberal increase in the list of compoundable offences. The following recommendations made in the report were subsequently incorporated in the new CRPC of 1973. Addition of section 354, 411, 414 of IPC to the list of compoundable offences provided the total value of property in case of section 401 and 414 was not more than Rs 250. Removal of section 374 IPC from the list of compoundable offence. 154th report. The report recommended increasing the number of offences compoundable without the permission of the court. Based on the observations at various workshops convened by the Law Commission, it was recommended to include the offence under section 498A IPC to be compoundable with the permission of the court. It also spoke about empowering the investigating officer to compound offences which are compoundable at the investigation stage and subsequently to submit a report to the magistrate. However, to avoid any abuse of power and coercion, it was suggested that the report to be submitted to the magistrate should be attested by a member of the District Legal Service Authority or Gram Panchayat. 177 report. It strongly supported and reaffirmed many of the recommendations of the 154th Law Commission of India report and Code of Criminal Procedure Amendment Bill 1994. 237th report. This report dealt with compounding of IPC offences. According to this report, offences which affected the security of the state or are very serious in nature or have a serious impact on the society should not be compounded. It stated that offences should not be made compoundable just for the purpose of reducing the pressure of pending cases on the judiciary. However, it further recommended to include sections 498A, 324, 326, 147, provided that the accused is not charged with other offence which is not compoundable. Section 380, value of property stolen is not more than rupees 50,000, 384, 385, 461, 489, 507. 243rd report. The 243rd report recommended the offences under section 498A shall be made compoundable with the permission of the court and subject to cooling off period of 3 months as already recommended by this commission in 237th report. The preponderance of view is to make it compoundable. Judiciary on compounding of offences. The Apex Court in a number of cases, B.S. Joshi versus State of Haryana 2003, Nikhil Merchant versus CBI 2008, Manoj Sharma versus State 2008, has adopted an approach where the parties have arrived at amicable settlement in case of non-compoundable offences and the court has quashed the proceedings. In Ram Gopal versus State of MP 2010, Divakar Singh versus State of Bihar 2010, the Apex Court has opined about increasing the number of offences which can be compoundable. Plea bargaining. The Law Reform Commission of Canada 1975 defined plea bargaining as any agreement by the accused to plead guilty in return for the promise of some benefit. Plea bargaining is based on the doctrine of nolo contendere, which means I do not wish to contest. The plea of nolo contendere has been recognized in various criminal justice systems globally, including the United States, and has caused substantial decline in the workload of criminal justice systems. Such a plea, it has been stated, has a success of practical aspect over the technical one. The concept of plea bargaining has been introduced in the criminal justice system of various countries as an effective ADR technique in order to ensure effective and speedy justice. This technique actually refers to some pre-trial negotiations or bargaining between the defendant and the prosecution where the accused or the defendant pleads guilty in exchange of certain concessions or discounts on account of the severity of the punishment, charge, etc. in course of the trial. Various reports of Law Commission of India and Judicial Reform Committees have repeatedly supported the introduction of plea bargaining criminal justice system, feeling optimistic that this could be a potent weapon to reduce the burden of pending cases and ensure quick delivery of justice. The rationale behind it. The technique of plea bargaining has been in use in English courts for more than 300 years and has been a part of the American system for about a century, though got official recognition only in late 1950s. Plea bargaining was believed to be the best suited alternative to deal with the huge amount of pending criminal cases in India. Nani Palkiwala once observed, the greatest drawback of administration of justice in India today is because of delay of cases. The law may or may not be an ass, but in India it certainly is a snail, and our cases proceed at a pace which would be regarded as unduly slow in the community of snails. Justice has to be blind, but I see no reason why it should be lame. Here it just hobbles along, barely able to work. Thus, after much deliberation, it was decided to incorporate the provisions dealing with plea bargaining within the criminal procedural laws of the country and reap its benefit both at the macro and micro level. It would help reduce the pressure built due to the pending cases and would also help individuals by making the process less cumbersome and technical. Its history. As early as in 1485, an English statute indicates the existence of the concept of plea bargaining. According to the statute, if a defendant confessed the crime, then he was convicted of a summary offense, but if the defendant denied his guilt, then he was prosecuted as a felon. However, according to Altschuler, plea bargaining was mostly unknown to the history of common law. It was only in the 19th century that the concept came to be known. Application of plea bargaining became regular during the late 19th century and early 20th. Plea bargaining is common in England, Canada, and most of the other nations of British Commonwealth, including America. In the opinion of Altschuler, the main causes for the emergence of plea bargaining were increase of complexity and the procedure involved in trial, expansion of substantive law, rise in crime rates, political corruption of urban criminal courts, increased involvement of professionals in the administration of justice. The courts in USA initially refused to recognize the existence of plea bargaining for over a century. It was for the first time in Brady versus United States, 1970, that the Supreme Court opined merely because the agreement was entered into out of fear that the trial may result in a death sentence would not illegitimize a bargained plea of guilt. In Blackledge versus Allison, where the promise made was broken, the Supreme Court opined, as the promise given to Allison by prosecution had been breached, he was entitled to be resentenced or to withdraw the plea of guilt. In this case, the accused Allison was informed that he would not be sentenced for a period exceeding 10 years if he pleaded guilty. He pleaded guilty to one charge while the others were dropped. He was sentenced to 17 to 21 years imprisonment. Today, the working of the American criminal justice system is strongly influenced by the concept of plea bargaining. Types of plea bargaining. Plea bargaining can be of various types. They are as follows. Charge bargaining. The bargain that is made for reduction in severity or number of charges is said to be charge bargaining. Sentence bargaining. It refers to bargaining for a favorable sentence. In this, the accused, with the permission of the prosecutor and the complainant, bargains for a sentence lesser than what is prescribed for the offense. Fact bargaining. It refers to an agreement between the prosecution and the defense where the prosecutor agrees not to contest the facts placed by the accused or to disclose aggravating facts like to adversely affect the accused. Express bargaining. When the advocate for the accused or the accused himself negotiates with a prosecutor or a trial judge directly regarding the benefits that he may ensue in case of plea of guilt. Implicit bargaining. In this case, the trial judge treats the accused with leniency on pleading guilty. Here, there is no face-to-face negotiation. The law on plea bargaining. Plea bargaining was inserted in the CRPC by way of Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2005. Sections 265A to 265L of Chapter 21A CRPC deals with plea bargaining. It came into force on 5th of July 2006. According to the statute, Section 265A, the concept of plea bargaining is applicable in cases of the following offences. Punishable with imprisonment up to 7 years, punishable with fine only. It is not applicable in cases of offences punishable with death sentence or imprisonment for life or imprisonment exceeding 7 years. In case if the offence affects the socio-economic condition of the country, the concept of plea bargaining is not applicable if the primary victim of the offence is a woman or a child below the age of 14. The concept of plea bargaining is not applicable. The procedure. The application for plea bargaining may be filed by the accused in the court in which the case is pending for trial. That's there in section 265B. On receipt of the application, the court shall issue notice to the public prosecutor or the complainant and the accused for appearance on a fixed date for the case. When the parties appear on the fixed date, the court shall satisfy itself that the application has been made by the accused voluntarily by examining the accused in camera. It's also in section 265B. Subsequently, the court shall give time to the parties to work out a mutually satisfactory disposition of the case. It's contained in section 265C. If the case is instituted on a police report, the court shall issue notice to the public prosecutor, the police officer who investigated the case, the accused and the victim, and in case of a matter instituted otherwise, then on a police report, the court shall issue notice to the accused and the victim to participate in a meeting and work out a mutually satisfactory disposition. The satisfactory disposition of the matter should be attained voluntarily by the parties, that is 265C. On working out a satisfactory disposition of the case, the court shall prepare a report which shall be signed by the presiding officer of the court and all participants in the meeting. That's contained in 265D. On attaining a satisfactory disposition, the court shall dispose of the case by 1. Awarding compensation to the victim or release the accused on probation of good conduct or admonition or on probation under the Probation of Offenders Act 1958 or sentence the accused to half the sentence if the court finds that minimum punishment has been provided under the law for the offence committed. The court may also sentence the accused to 1/4 of the punishment provided or extendable as the case may be for such offence. The judgment signed by the presiding officer of the court must be delivered in an open court. It must be final in nature, that is, no appeal except SLP under Article 136 can be availed against the final judgment delivered. The statements of fact stated by an accused in an application for plea bargaining shall not be used for any other purpose apart from plea bargaining of the case. The Law Commission of India on Plea Bargaining. 142nd Report. The Commission opined the introduction of a scheme to be known as Scheme for Granting Prayer for Granting Concessional Treatment made by accused pleading guilty voluntarily. The 142nd Report of the Law Commission recommended that the concept of plea bargaining should be introduced as an experimental measure for the following category of the offences. Offences punishable with imprisonment of less than 7 years and or fine, including offences covered by section 320 of the code. Not in case of habitual offenders or socio-economic offences of a grave nature and those accused of offences against women and children. 154th Report. With the thrust on reduction of pending criminal trials and congestion in prisons, the 154th Report, reiterating the observations of 142nd Report, put forth the following justifications for incorporating the concept of plea bargaining. End of uncertainty, cost effective, saves anxiety, greater scope for reformation and reintegration into the society. Avoidance of legal complexities. It recommended introduction of Chapter 21A dealing with plea bargaining in the Code of Criminal Procedure. 177 Report. This report too, drawing conclusions from the previous recommendations of the Law Commission reports and the opinion of various scholars, recommended in favor of incorporating provisions relating plea bargaining in the criminal justice system. Recommendations of Criminal Justice Reform Committees. Committee on Reforms of Criminal Justice System, that's the Malimath Committee Report 2003. The Malimath Committee had strongly recommended the introduction of plea bargaining in the Indian criminal justice system to reduce the burden on the courts and ensure quick disposal of criminal cases. The committee observed, in addition to the offences prescribed in the court as compoundable with or without the order of the court, there are many other offences which deserve to be included in the list of compoundable offences. Where the offences are not of a serious character and the impact is mainly on the victim and not on the values of the society, it is desirable to encourage settlement without trial. N.R. Madhava Menon Committee, 2007. The committee constituted to draft the national policy on criminal justice suggested settlement without trial, compounding and plea bargaining should assume mainstream status in criminal proceedings and laws should be developed accordingly. According to the committee, offences of less serious nature, that is punishable up to 3 years of punishment and or fine, should be encouraged to be settled through techniques like lok adalats, plea bargaining and other methods, avoiding trials. Judiciary on plea bargaining of offences. In the beginning, the concept or inclusion of plea bargaining was not much appreciated. It was said that plea bargaining would violate the spirit of Article 21 of the Constitution or encourage an accused to plead guilty under a promise or assurance would cause the accused to be let off lightly. A critical observation was made by the Supreme Court in Murlidhar Meghraj Loya versus State of Maharashtra, called plea bargaining, plea negotiation, trading out and compromise in criminal cases, and the trial magistrate, drowned by a docket burden, nods assent to the sub rosa anteroom settlement. The businessman culprit, confronted by a sure prospect of the agony and ignominy of tenancy of a prison cell, trades out of the situation, the bargain being a plea of guilt coupled with a promise of no jail. These advance arrangements please everyone except the distant victim, the silent society. In Kasambhai versus State of Gujarat 1980, it was observed that plea bargain would tend to encourage corruption and collusion and as a direct consequence contribute to the lowering of the standard of justice. The apex court in state of Uttar Pradesh versus Chandrika of 2000 stated, it is settled law that on the basis of plea bargaining, court cannot dispose of the criminal cases. The court has to decide it on merits. If the accused confesses its guilt, appropriate sentence is required to be implemented. However, Post-Criminal Law Amendment Act 2005, with the inclusion of plea bargaining in the procedural law of the country, the attitude underwent a slow change. In state of Gujarat versus Natwar Harchandji Thakur of 2005, the Gujarat High Court, appreciating the concept of plea bargaining, expressed, the very object of law is to provide easy, cheap and expeditious justice by resolution of disputes, including the trial of criminal cases, and considering the present realistic profile of the pendency and delay in disposal in the administration of law and justice. Fundamental reforms are inevitable. There should not be anything static. It can thus be said that plea bargaining is really a measure for redressal and it shall add a new dimension in the realm of judicial reforms. Shiv Narayan Dhingra, Justice, in Pradeep Gupta versus State, Delhi High Court 2007 observed, the trial court's rejection of the plea bargaining shows that the learned trial court had not bothered to look into the provisions of Chapter 21 capital A of the Code of Criminal Procedure meant for the purpose of plea bargaining and rejected the application on the ground that since the applicant is involved in an offence under section 120B of Indian Penal Code and the role of the applicant was not lesser than the other co-accused. But none of the offences in which the petitioner has been booked attracted more than 7 years punishment. The request of plea bargaining ought to be considered, taking into account the role of the accused and the nature of the offence, etc. The trial court was directed by the High Court to reconsider the application of plea bargaining made by the accused in the light of the provisions of the Code of Criminal Procedure and not casually deal with it. To conclude, we can say the modern criminal justice system adheres to the reformative model. The basis of restorative justice and reformative model are very closely connected. Internalizing various modes of rendering restorative justice like compounding of offences and plea bargaining into the criminal justice system is very encouraging. Along with various other methods, compounding of offences and the technique of plea bargaining are two such tools which jurisdictions across border are adopting to respond to various contemporary needs of criminal justice system and administration and balancing the needs of the victims and involvement of the accused. Apparently, these methods raise question on the fundamental principles of criminal justice, but these are such techniques which respond to the modern needs of criminal justice system and keep in mind the interest of the victim and the accused. Thank you.